Hello guys, welcome back, and today we're going to be talking about the Buffalo Sabres and when they can actually start winning again. Now, as a lot of you guys know, the Buffalo Sabres have not made the playoffs in 7 straight seasons. That's the second worst, the second behind Carolina Hurricanes, who I think are on 9 seasons. It's not good, and being in that category, it's not really good for the franchise either. And it's obviously a huge problem for that franchise, even though the fans keep coming to games, which is amazing. They're one of the most loyal fan bases in the NHL. It's still a giant problem that they've not made the playoffs in all this time. With Carolina, you can kind of tell that because they haven't had the best talents and they're kind of going for that rebuild phase for a long time, and they have yet to spend a lot of money on their cap room. They haven't really done that for all those years. But with Buffalo, they've been signing contracts. They've really been trying everything to get past in the playoffs, and they just haven't done so. I predicted them this season to be a lot more competitive than they were. I was expecting them to, of course, not make the playoffs. I wasn't that crazy, but to be a lot more competitive than what they've been doing and to be somewhat competitive in the race. And obviously, they did not do that, being the worst team overall in the NHL last season, and of course, winning that first overall draft lottery. And to me, one of the big reasons why they haven't made the playoffs in 7 years is between these 7 years of not making the playoffs, their draft history, besides the gimmies like Jack Eichel and Rasmus Ristolainen, have been pretty mediocre. In the 2011-2012 season, their big draft pick was Joel Armia. He was, I think, 16th overall. He's now with the Winnipeg Jets and not doing too great there. Kind of struggling to get ice time, and obviously that pick's not looking too good now. In the 2012-2013 season, their big guy was Mikhail Grigorenko, who was traded to the Colorado Avalanche, and right now is in the KHL. Not looking too great for either team, and a couple of picks later, they got Zemgus Gurinsons, who, I really liked that the Stars didn't get him. Rackvax was right before him. It was really a blessing that they didn't get him, but with Zemgus Gurinsons, he's like a fourth line, maybe third line guy. He did not play well all this season, and really has not shown any signs of being a first round pick, no less, just an NHL player. He hasn't played all that great, and you guys like Jake McCaig was a decent pick from there. He's a decent defenseman. I think he missed a lot of the season this season, but he's a decent pick, Jake McCaig. That's probably their best guy from that draft, which is pretty as they had 2 first-round picks. In the 2013-2014 season, they had Rasmus Ristolainen, who, of course, is their guy right there on the defense. Then you got Zadorov, who is on Colorado right now, playing decent. Not the best guy either. And then you got JT Comfort, who is also in Colorado right now. From the 2014-2015 season, they got Sam Reinhart, second overall, which he's still a decent player, had a good season, but was not that second overall guy. Hasn't really played like that second overall guy. He still has time to develop, but not looking like the best draft pick looking back on it. And really, there wasn't anybody else from that. There's still some guys that could develop, but there wasn't any other person that got any NHL playing time. From the 2015-2016 season, you got Jack Eichel, who, of course, was a gimme at the second overall pick, and Brandon Gooley, who is looking to be a decent prospect there. From the 2016-2017, you pretty much just got Alex Nylander. Not too many other guys to really note there. And, of course, in their last draft, they got Casey Middlestat and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, who is looking like a great defensive or a great goaltending prospect there, and Casey Middlestat, who played very well with the Buffalo Sabres when he was on the squad. So their drafting, it's gotten better over time, but when you got low expectations like Joel Armia, 16 overall, it was about time that it got a little bit better. But even though with that, it still wasn't the best draft quality throughout these past few years, and it's obviously showed. A lot of these guys have been traded or aren't even playing NHL games, and a lot of these guys that Buffalo has drafted aren't looking too good, and they definitely need to shape up that. But a big reason why they're struggling is just because they haven't had the depth come up through the draft like they probably should have. Being crap all these years, you'd think they'd have a lot more talent in the draft system, but they have it right now, but they just haven't had it throughout the first couple of years when they didn't make the playoffs. There was a couple of terrible drafts there. They built a solid young core. It probably should be better than what it is, but they built an okay young core going in the future. Of course, they're going to add Dahlin with that first overall pick, hopefully, unless Buffalo is stupid. But their young core looking forward is pretty decent. You got guys like Middlestat, Eichel, Ristolainen, of course, Dahlin, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, who's going to be their goaltender of the future, hopefully. But they got a decent core there. It probably shouldn't be as good as it probably should be a lot better with how many years they've missed the playoffs, but it's looking pretty solid. And of course, adding Dahlin will speed up that rebuild even further, which is very good for them. Winning that draft lottery for once, them getting lucky in the draft lottery is great for them. Speeding that up with Dahlin, that's definitely going to help them. But even though they might have a good future down the line, their team right now is pretty much in shambles. There always seems to be someone that drags them down every single year that we don't really hear a lot about. It might be the owner and Baguglia, who just is in the team way too much, meddles with the team way too much. It might be that, but there's something that we just don't hear about. There's something in the locker room or something in the organization that is just keeping them away from success. and there might just be a cancer in that organization that they need to get rid of, and if they do that, that'll hopefully get them better. But there's something going wrong with the locker room and just the team in general that's just making them depressed. The team overall is depressing. The team overall feels depressed, and they're just in shambles. It's a weird situation because there's just something going on with Buffalo that we can't really put our eyes on because we don't really know about. I mean, we've seen that Pagula owner meddle in the team itself, but we haven't really seen something that obviously brings them down every single year. It's something in the organization does, just keeping them back and holding them back from success. It is something in that locker room. It's something there that's just meddling with the team too much. And it could be the owner, and it probably is something to do with that. But there's something in there that we just don't know about. And of course, Ryan O'Reilly, one of the guys that's been there for a long time, comes out and saying that he doesn't even enjoy playing hockey anymore, playing with the Buffalo Sabres. And when you got a guy like that who's making all that money and he obviously is a very talented player, it's not a good situation. There's obviously something that's going on. And it's really, really hard to have hope in the team that doesn't even have hope in themselves. Obviously, it's a problem up here mentally and something to do with talent. They haven't had the best talent throughout the years, but a lot of it is in the head and with the organization itself. That's fixable. I mean, they can do that, and I feel like there's just a move that they can make in the organization or the team itself in the locker room that will just change a lot of it. And it might not make them a much better team, but it'll change the locker room and the team itself, both in the morale about the team itself and in the mental capacity going forward, and that's something that they really need to focus on. Buffalo hasn't had the best rep of being a great place to be at, great place to stay at, kind of like Winnipeg, but they fixed that. Winnipeg used their home growth ability to draft and play well, and they made themselves. They forced themselves to change and forced to change that reputation. I mean, Stastny is coming out and saying that he wants to stay in Winnipeg, a big free agent for next season if he doesn't, but he wants to stay there. I mean, Winnipeg has changed their scenery, changed their momentum, and Buffalo can definitely do the same. And to me, it might not be an obvious fix in the organization, but there's something there that they just tweak a little bit or get rid of somebody that's obviously holding them back. Get rid of that owner possibly. Just do something. It'll definitely help the team in the long run. And to me, the best thing that Buffalo can try to do is to be more like these guys. Bring those homegrown guys up. Get the growth going. I mean, nobody really wants to play in Buffalo. Does anybody want to play with Buffalo, especially with Ryan O'Reilly coming out and saying that he doesn't want to play there, doesn't even enjoy hockey anymore? Buffalo needs to change their reputation, and to do that, you got to go through within and build throughout. And that's something that Winnipeg has done very well throughout this past year, is able to get that reputation out of there and to be able to get these homegrown guys and to be able to change their system. And for Buffalo, that's an obvious thing that I think they should go after. And I already feel they got a lot of youth and talent in their system to do that. Just add a couple more pieces, maybe be bad for a couple more years, and build throughout that youth. And if they do that, they can be competitive in the next 3 to 5 more years. And if they do that, of course, they have a solid shot at the playoffs. I think they might be competitive in the next few years, but I do think that'll take a while for them to get that next step and make the playoffs finally. It probably will get them over the decade mark between a playoff drought, but I think it'll be worth it in the end, as a team in 5 years could be very, very good. They're obviously building towards something, but they need to keep that going, and to keep it going because obviously it hasn't worked out so far, but it might have to take a little bit more sacrifice throughout the years to get them to where they need to be. It might take a couple more years of just being in the dumpster, but I think eventually it'll definitely work out for them. It may not be this year, it may not be the next year, but in the next few years, we could see a competitive Buffalo team finally. With the Buffalo Sabres, it's going to take a while for them to get to where they eventually need to be, but with guys like Alex Nylander, Rasmus Dahlin, Jack Eichel, Ukko Pagalukin, and the crazy name goaltender, it's going to take a while for them to get to the promised land, but I think it will be worth it in the end, as in 5 or so years, they'll have a great team on their hands. Of course, the fans will still be there loyally because they're amazing, but I think that it'll take a while to get rid of those cancerous stuff in the locker room, to get rid of the stuff that they need to get rid of, and of course, to fight those demons that have the reputation around them. And with the team that they can have in a few years, I think they're going to be definitely competitive and hopefully make the playoffs. I'm not really a fan of the Buffalo Sabres. I don't hate them either. I just wish that they get someone going and finally change the reputation that, of course, they're a bad place to play in, and finally get past that hump of making the playoffs. I think they definitely deserve it, and that fan base, of course, definitely deserves something. So while I might not be a Buffalo Sabres fan, I'm definitely rooting them again to get to the playoffs for finally for the longest time. They probably won't do it for a couple of years, but if they continue to go on this path of getting in the dumpster, getting good prospects, and getting towards that youthful future, I think that it will work out for them in the end, and they'll eventually make the playoffs. Not in a couple of years, but in the next 5 years, they'll be a very, very good team. But that is going up for you guys. Enjoy. Make sure to like, subscribe, join the Discord down below in the description if you guys have not already. Tell me down below what you think about the Buffalo Sabres. What do you think of them going in the future? What do you think about their young core, of course, adding Dolan in this draft? And I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.